Hola chicos, soy señorita Schaefer y hoy vamos a hablar de gramática 3A y vamos a hablar de the present tense of ER and IR verbs. La información está en página 132 de sus libros de texto, entonces si quieres verlo allá puedes. The question that we're going to answer today is, how do I conjugate ER and IR verbs in the present tense? So go ahead and write that at the top of your notes, please. That should be your focus as we do this. And then leave a little bit of space at the bottom where you can write your answer. All right, before we start, we're just going to review what it looks like to conjugate AR verbs in the present tense. When we learned AR verbs, I told you guys that this is very foundational, that a lot of the other verbs are going to conjugate a lot like this. So we're going to go ahead and conjugate the verb tocar. Tocar means to play an instrument or to touch. So you'll remember that when we conjugate, what we're going to do is go ahead and take off the AR to make the stem of the verb. So our stem here is tok. So that's going to be the same through all of these. Tok, 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 and tok. Okay? And then we're going to take our endings and use those. So our endings for AR verbs are o, as, a, amos, ais. Remember, we only use vosotros in Spain, and an. So just to review real quickly, if that's how we did AR verbs, that we had our endings here in red, and then we add those onto the stem. And we're going to do the exact same thing right now with ER and IR verbs. So as we start with ER and IR verbs, we're going to do them the exact same way that we did the AR verbs. We just have different endings. So the ER endings are o, es, e, hemos, eis, en. And the IR endings are actually going to be almost the exact same, except for the nosotros form. So we have o, es, e, hemos, is, and en. So just these two are going to be different in IR. Make sure that you look out for those. Let's go ahead and put them with a verb, but first please pause this as long as you need to make sure that you have these written down. You'll need these in your notes. Alrighty, so we're going to look at two verbs. Comer means to eat. This will be our ER verb. And compartir means to share. We'll use this as our IR example. So remember, we're going to start by taking off the ER so we have the stem com. And we can just go ahead and write that into our table because they're all going to be the same. And then we'll go ahead and add our endings that we just talked about for ER verbs. So I eat is yo como. You eat, tú comes. He, she, or usted, ella, usted eats, will be come. Nosotros comemos, we eat. Vosotros, just in Spain, remember, is y'all eat. And then ellos, ellas, and ustedes will be comen, they eat. With compartir, we're going to do pretty much the same thing, but we're going to use our IR endings. So we have compart is our stem, and we can go ahead and add it in there because we took off the IR verb. And I want you guys to write down, please, these two verb charts on your notes as well, so that you have an example of both. So we're going to add our IR endings that we just talked about. Yo comparto, tú compartes, you share. Él comparte, he shares. And remember, we have to watch out in the nosotros and vosotros boxes. We have different endings for the IR verbs. So we have compartimos, compartís, and then ellos comparten. The one other thing that I want for you guys to write down in your notes before we finish is just a list of ER and IR verbs that are regular that you already know. So you can use what you've learned here with these verbs. So for ER verbs, we have beber, means to drink. Comer is to eat. Comprender is to understand. Correr is to run. And leer is to read. IR verbs we don't know as many. As you'll remember, AR verbs are the most common. But for IR verbs, you know compartir, which we just did, means to share. And escribir is to write. The great thing about Spanish is that everything that we just learned you can use on any of these verbs. The other verb that I want to look at that's almost regular is the verb ver. So if you look at the verb ver, you'll notice that the stem is just V. So the reason that ver is irregular is because you leave that E in, and we have veo. But other than that, we can go ahead and fill in our stem with the V, and it's going to be a normal verb. So we'll just add our ER endings one more time. You guys can go ahead and put this in your notes, please. We have veo, ves, ve, vemos, veis, and ven. So our question as we went into this lesson is, how do I conjugate ER and IR verbs in the present tense? And what I want you guys to do is just go and put your steps again. So we'll say find stem, and you can add in there that you have to remove the ER or IR ending. And then the second step is to add the appropriate ending, just like we did with the AR verbs. And I would love it if you guys would go ahead and please just do those two tables one more time, where you have your ER endings, o, es, e, hemos, es, and en, and then your IR endings are o, es, e, hemos, is, and en. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have any questions, please go ahead and write them down on your notes so that you can remember to ask them when you come back to school. And have a fantastic day.